Well, hello everyone, and this is another episode of Generation X-Men, where you get to hear three old Gen Xers talk about the good old days, the bad current days, and whatever the hell we feel like, because we go off topic a lot. I'm your host, J.Ishiro Finney, author and alien. Yes, that is true, both an author and alien. I've penned many a graphic novel. Link in the description if you wish to buy any of them. And I'm also the author of Boobs of Steel, the best damn pop culture book you will ever read. It traces the history of the Amazon archetype all the way from Neolithic times up to current era, cover all of the eras, pulp, film, and even the whole culture war right now of wokeness. So you need to buy these. And also, I'm an alien, but that's none of your business.
Hey everyone, it's Janelle, the Mead Goddess and X-Men, Walking X-Men Library. And yeah, we're going to have a discussion today that I think everybody will appreciate, and I really hope you enjoy it.
And this is your Kronk, former and recovering Marvel file. It's amazing what selling your comic book collection can do to you. Makes you feel so much freer. Just like getting rid of Twitter.
I don't know about comparing it to Twitter, but leaving Twitter was kind of a relief.
Well, first things first, I don't know if everybody has seen the news on social media, but Wonder Man is coming out with a new show, and Wonder Man has been race swapped from white to black. The reactions have not been good.
That's retarded.
Yeah. And the excuses we're getting this time that I have seen on social media is that all superheroes that were created in America are white because white was the default race. And so it's okay for them to be race swapped because they're still not enough.
Because there's a ton of white or black guys whose last name's Williams. Just
yes,
tons. I know like 14 myself. There's Tom Williams, big guy. Stevie Williams. Oh no, that's a black woman. Yeah, I ran out.
Cat Williams.
Okay, there's a Williams.
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Now, if it was Cat Williams playing Simon Williams, I'd actually be okay with that.
You know, I'd watch that.
Yeah, watch the fuck out of that.
That'd be a little too Meteor Man for me.
But people forget that Nathan Fillion was cast as Simon Williams in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. You could see his posters in the background, his movie posters. So they already, and I actually was like, hey, that's not a bad pick for, washed up movie star. But yeah, I guess that was not Simon Williams after all. I was actually excited because I thought maybe we were going to get, Wonder Man in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But yeah, James Gunn jumped ship, so we never got that. And Nathan Fillion went with him, so...
I can't see Nathan Fillion as Wonder Man. He's just too little.
He may be little, but I understood why he was cast because I still think he can pull it off. I mean, it's the same thing as people saying that Hugh Jackman's too tall to play Wolverine. I've gotten to the point where height doesn't matter for me anymore as long as you play the character correctly. I'm not so anal about that. And everybody can thank Hugh Jackman for that because I was like, okay. And, also the Deadpool and Wolverine movie proved that having a 5'3" Wolverine looked absolutely idiotic.
Well, opinions vary, I guess, because
to me,
Wonder Man definitely has to be built like a bodybuilder. I mean, we could get skinny little Captain America, Chris, whatever his name is, but I'm sorry, Wonder Man's got to be, he's got to look like he can fight Thor.
Well, I thought Chris Evans was very bulked up as Captain America, especially in Winter Soldier. He was huge.
His biggest was in Ultron, though, and that still was small for Cap. Cap's supposed to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. Like his muscles have muscles.
Yeah, but we had, us males, we see that on the screen and it sets unrealistic expectations for us. We feel we have to compete with him.
Shit.
Sounds pretty stupid, doesn't it, ladies?
Yes.
So anyway, Janelle wanted to talk about, well, she's been kind of on a deep dive kick on what Claremont had planned for the X-Men before it got hijacked and taken out of his hands.
So I like I said, I follow the classic X-Men channel. I do not know how this guy finds stuff. I mean, he finds rare interviews that you can't find anymore. I actually think people are sending him stuff now because this guy knows how to deep dive. And what the X-Men was supposed to do under him after Outback and the Siege Perilous storyline is actually phenomenal, and we got robbed. So as we know, the team scatters to the four winds. They've lost contact. Meanwhile, on Muir Island, Forge and Banshee are trying to they're trying to find the X-Men themselves. They're trying to, put the pieces of the puzzle together. And things are getting funky on Muir Island. The Shadow King's starting to do his thing. Well, Wolverine obviously goes to the what's it called? The Outback base, gets captured by the Reavers, tortured, and is rescued by Jubilee. Well, one thing Claremont wanted to make clear to people is Wolverine knew that he should not be dragging this 12-year-old girl into battles, but he was desperate because he needed to find the X-Men. And what you are going to find out is that Wolverine was dying. And what he wanted to do is get the team back together. And that means everyone, every single X team. So this was also going to from what I gathered, it was also going to include Excalibur. He wanted to get the band back together. It was going to be his parting gift to the X-Men that he could get them all together before he dies. And we've talked about this before on the show, that the dialogue in the Outback part of the series, and even before that, Wolverine really has been, he was making mention that he's an old man, not moving as fast as he used to, and was dropping hints. Now, I am not 100% sure about this, but it looks like when he was captured in Genosha with Rogue and Madeline Pryor, and his powers were shut down. So he didn't have his, it really hurt him. And when he got his powers back, he didn't recover.
He didn't recover entirely. Yeah.
Yeah.
He started to feel his age. And in the Genosha arc, it really becomes clear that he kind of feels his days are numbered.
Yes.
And that was one of the things I was looking forward to, because again, I've said it plenty of times already. He was kind of the aging warrior, seeing his final, the end was near. He could see it on the horizon. And he's got Betsy, who's had a complete mental shift. And it was very obvious he was going to kind of be what it was going towards was almost a kung fu sort of thing, where he was going to be guiding Bessie in the ways of the warrior, because she had constantly had that. She had the soul of a warrior, but life had always been dealing her the role of being PR person or switchboard operator, and she hated it.
Well, here's something I am going to point out that Claremont dropped the ball on with Betsy. When he got Betsy back after, because Betsy does play a huge role in the first part of what the storyline was going to be, obviously, because the Madripoor storyline happened. By the way, if anybody ever sees what some of the designs for Psylocke's outfit were before they settled on the one that you see on the screen, the Chris Claremont BDSM is actually part of the outfit. It looks very strange, and you can see that they separated eventually the outfits into the Lady Mandarin outfit and what you see on the screen. But Betsy is a pilot. Everybody forgets that, and I guess that was retconned in Captain Britain, but she should have been flying their jets. Just saying. It shouldn't have been Madeline Pryor. It should have been Betsy. So Wolverine grabs Jubilee. He's dying. He has to depend on her, so he drags her into this. And this is the part that everybody was supposed to be picking up on. Like, dude, you need to let this little girl go. But she's basically become his crutch. And the first person they find is Psylocke. And everybody knows the story that Psylocke was only supposed to be, you know, in this Japanese outfit for 3 issues before she breaks Mojo's spell, and she is British again. And then apparently the Hand was supposed to freak out because they were like, oh my God, it's a British white woman that's been leading us this whole time. This is horrible. No, this does not fit who we are. Also,
I will step in though, because this one's argued quite a bit and often retconned. Apparently, I read an interview with Claremont. I've actually got it in the notes for the second Boobs of Steel, where he said that had been the intent, but that they liked Betsy as the ninja so much.
Well, yeah,
that they were going to keep it.
The look was embraced so much by the fans. The fans were like, she looks the best she's ever looked. Chris Claremont was like, yeah, I actually agree. Let's just keep her this way. The original concept,
it fit the character change.
Yes, the original concept was that the glamour and alchemy that had been used by Mojo, she was going to break through it, and basically the Asian form was going to melt off her, and it was going to be the old Betsy again. Also, something that did not happen was they were supposed to tie up the Mojo arc, because Betsy was Mojo's favorite Barbie doll. And when she went back to her original form, this is what was supposed to happen. Her eyes were no longer bionic. She had her regular eyes back, which meant that Mojo lost his live feed to the X-Men, which had been keeping him in power for this long. So you're also going to be getting an end to the Mojo arc, but they just were like, no, let's keep Betsy that way. And it was implied that, you know, she no longer had bionic eyes, which later on was shown when they changed her from being changed chemically, you know, alchemically and magically, that she just had her brain swapped, that the original Betsy body still had the eyes and the Japanese body didn't. It was a stupid storyline. Oh my God, why did they do that? Moving on. So Wolverine gets Betsy, and they were going to start hunting down the other X-Men. And at the same time as X-Men were coming out of everything, they started being attracted to Muir Island. Well, this was the influence of the Shadow King. Remember, Rogue ends up on Muir Island, and she ends up under the influence of the Shadow King. Another thing that happened was the Muir Island team was created. The Muir Island team lasted 2 issues before they got fucked up. Not only did the Reavers show up and cause damage, but Legion's multiple personalities were taken over by, I believe it was Jack Ryder, which was the most evil personality, who then, him taking over, caused Legion to kill Sunder, cause a bunch of havoc, and get possessed by the Shadow King.
Did Legion kill Sunder? I thought he got blown away by Skullcrusher or somebody.
I'm pretty sure that it was, from what I'd read, it was Legion that caused Sunder's death.
Oh, okay. I probably remember.
I just remember Sunder dying. I just remember Sunder getting shot in the back, and the look of shock before he falls over, because he was trying to protect, remember correctly, Artie and Leech, who were on Muir Island as well. There were a bunch, the Morlocks that had survived the Morlock massacre. The survivors were on Muir Island, and that was to show you there were so little left that they could populate part of Muir Island. And it was like a handful, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
There weren't many left.
It was like between 8 and like 13, if anything.
And I know that some of them were on Muir Island and the others were in New York under the protection of X Factor, because that was Mask's group, and Mask was starting shit with everybody because Mask sucks.
Yeah, disgusting.
Okay, where was I? Okay, so Muir Island. if people remember, if you haven't read, Lorna Dane Polaris lost her powers to her retconned sister Zaladane. And all of a sudden, Lorna gets brand new power set where she's like 7 feet tall, super muscular, invulnerable. I mean, she's like this giant bodybuilder now. What you were supposed to...
She-Hulk without the tan.
Yes, She-Hulk without the tan. What you were supposed to find out is that Lorna got this new power, like a secondary mutation, where she could channel negative energy. Well, think about why she became so big and strong first in the Savage Land. There was a massive battle going on. The X-Men were losing. So negative emotions there. And then she's sent to Muir Island, where there's Morlock refugees and the Shadow King is sniffing around. And that is why the Shadow King used her as a battery in Muir Island. That's why she was hooked up to that wall. She had become a living battery. So as the story is supposed to go on, Wolverine's gathering everybody. Meanwhile, other people are heading towards Muir Island. You have the entire Muir Island arc and the battle with the Shadow King. And from that point on, this is where we really got robbed. See, what was supposed to happen is all of this shit triggers the days of what it sounded like. It's never been actually confirmed if it was Days of Future Past, but Days of Future Past was going to happen. We were going to get the major battle between the mutants and the humans. That is what we were supposed to get. But a certain person working on the book kept going behind the editor's back, or going behind the writer's back, and telling the editor he wanted to do his version of Magneto and hijacked the book. Meanwhile, another famous artist hijacked New Mutants, and another famous artist hijacked Uncanny X-Men. Bob Harris fucked up because we were going to finally get the battle that we had heard about through Days of Future Past.
Right.
And it was supposed to be a company-wide event. So every team, remember, just like that happened in Days of Future Past, the other superhero teams either killed or captured all mutants, including the X-Men, and put them in the internment camps, and then the Sentinels turned on them. This time, they have that information. And from what I was gathering from what I was reading, the Avengers were going to flip quickly to the X-Men side. But yeah, we were supposed to get the big final battle between mutants and humans. And what also seemed to be the case, Wolverine was going to be dead by this point. They were going to have to try and figure out how to battle without their berserker. But that's why he was trying to get all the X-Men together, because something bad was going down. And
but isn't it so much more creative just to rehash Magneto?
Yeah, honestly, if you go back and read the Magneto storyline, it's fucking fan fiction. They completely disregard his redemption arc.
That, and they make one of the astronauts that are going up to Asteroid M or whatever to try and stop Magneto or talk to him or whatever. They make him flip sides.
Yeah, Delgado. I remember that.
And he wasn't even a mutant. He's just a sympathizer that Chrome turned into a metal dude.
Well, that was the thing, too, that was never explained. You go first with the very first issue, Delgado's part of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then you go into the end of the first issue, and all of a sudden he's Acolyte? The fuck?
Yeah, nothing explained at all.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. And that was Jim Lee's plot that Chris Claremont had to write. Can you imagine being Chris Claremont and having all of your books robbed from you?
No, I don't want to.
And I think
terrible.
The reason Excalibur didn't fall apart like the rest of them, well, I say falling apart now, they were selling like gangbusters, is Alan Davis was still on Excalibur. So you had Alan Davis there to be like, no, we're just going to keep doing our thing the Excalibur way. And if you noticed by that point, Excalibur was an X-Men team in name only. They had their own adventures. It was more of a magic and fantasy-based book.
Mm-hmm.
They, and also an outer space book. They were doing their own thing. That's why Excalibur didn't show up in very many crossovers. They didn't show up till, I believe, the Phalanx Covenant. So they were...
Well, for big stories, yeah, there was a crossover with the X-Men Blue team, though, where the Blue team came to England. They helped the Excalibur fight the trolls that X Factor had fought way back in the day.
Yeah, but I thought it turned out that team wasn't actually the X-Men. They were disguised as the X-Men. They were actually something else.
No, they're the X-Men.
Oh, okay.
But it was only like 2 issues, so not as big as the Phalanx Covenant for sure.
Williams says that actually it was John Byrne that was behind Magneto's return to villainy. When? No, seriously, like, I don't remember that. I remember he fell in with the Hellfire Club and then he disappeared.
Maybe it was during Acts of Vengeance.
Oh, yeah, I
Do you
don't
remember
know.
you remember that crossover?
Vaguely.
Because he actually attacked and almost killed the Red Skull during it, but I think
Was
he
that the
still
one where
participated in it.
is that the one where he got a hold of the submarine, the Leningrad, and sunk it?
No, that was like a decade and a half before that.
Okay. I don't remember much of Acts of Vengeance.
Acts of Vengeance was like, I want to say like 93.
Okay, William Silva said yes, it was Acts of Vengeance. I don't remember Acts of Vengeance.
It was all the villains of Marvel taking on, instead of their regular heroes, they took on the other guys, bad guys, so they the heroes supposedly wouldn't be ready for it. Like Dr. Doom went after Spider-Man, Magneto went after Captain America.
Oh my God! And Mark Millar ripped that off for Old Man Logan.
Oh yeah.
Well, and Old Man Logan, all of the villains decide to team up because they realize that there's more villains than there are heroes, and they start going after each other's hero teams, and the villains win. And that
book
was a rehash from his Wanted book.
That was so contrived.
Sucked.
It does, because you know what? There's no way Wolverine's getting tricked by Mysterio.
He would have sniffed him out.
Yeah.
I just
Wolverine
trusts
his senses better.
Just really did not need a incest Hulk.
Oh, jeez, yes.
That was so fucking stupid. I was like, really?
And also,
this is the MacGuffin?
Hulk and She-Hulk are not that closely related that they're going to make inbred kids. I mean, it's gross either way, but they're really not that closely related.
From what I took from it was the inbred girls, or the girls that Jennifer Walters had, he was still banging. That's why they became inbred. But yeah, apparently the Hulk goes nuts, captures his cousin Jennifer Walters, and rapes her to pregnancy multiple times.
Oh boy. Because that's real. That's cool. That's
exactly something we wanted.
Yeah.
Thanks, England. Because the Brit wave really did bring a lot of new stuff that, they really innovated for us.
The Brits ruined American comics. There are a few exceptions, like Alan Davis.
Yeah, there are a few
Alan Davis did not ruin Excalibur. In fact,
that was a Brit book.
It was a Brit book, but Chris Claremont was writing Excalibur along with Alan Davis. And Alan Davis had been the long-running artist for Captain Britain. So Alan Davis knew his shit, and it was pretty obvious that Alan Davis was plotting the scenes for Megan and Captain Britain. Claremont was plotting the scenes for Shadowcat, Rachel, and Nightcrawler, and then Claremont would write the story. That's why I think that book, my husband said at one point, Excalibur was his favorite book because it was the most well-written. And I have to agree too, because all the depressing shit that was happening in X-Men, you could read Excalibur and be like, oh, thank God, this isn't depressing. They're having such a good time. But yeah, so that was supposed to be Claremont's plan. Also got some information about Inferno, and how Inferno happened was Louise Simonson was wanting to finally tie up Ileana's storyline. You know, is she going to become fully Darkchild, or is she going to give up her powers and no longer be, you know, magic? Meanwhile, Chris Claremont was trying to, as he said, solve the redhead problem, which was Madeline Pryor and Jean Grey. They had sat down with Bob Harris, and they were both talking about, you know, they needed to resolve these storylines, and that's how they came up with the idea for Inferno. Inferno was going to resolve those two storylines, and it worked. And I think it was a great stroke of genius to have Ileana revert back to the child that she was, and not remembering everything and getting a second chance at a good life. And then they fucked it up by infecting her with the legacy virus and killing her off. So that's one thing I don't like about 90s X-Men. And I'm talking about 90s X-Men after it became X-Men, Uncanny X-Men. We have blue and gold.
Yeah.
One thing that really drove me nuts in hindsight is it's a fucking soap opera. We didn't need depression all the time. We didn't need dark and edgy and like sad storylines. There was no reason to kill off Ileana. They killed off Ileana so they had an excuse to make Colossus join the Acolytes. It was fucking dumb.
Well, and then when he came back and he killed himself to honor Ileana. Okay, yeah, he's the kind that would sacrifice himself, but even the way they explain how that would get the cure out into the world didn't make any sense biologically. There was nothing. It was like, because Colossus die, legacy virus saved. Yay.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, there were so many mutants infected by the legacy virus. Shouldn't they have eventually been able to make a serum or infect Wolverine with it? His healing factor would have made the antibodies.
Yeah.
It was stupid.
His healing factor beat the techno-organic virus or the Technarch virus. Hello, it stopped the brood.
Yeah. So
Fucking
just
dumb.
The whole legacy virus story was dumb. And they, you know, trying to have Apocalypse and Mr. Sinister have the last laugh, and it was absolutely stupid. Never should have happened. And yes, Buddy Smith, you are correct. The legacy virus was a lame AIDS allegory. It was mutant AIDS.
Yeah.
But then it became a big deal when Moira McTaggart got infected with it, the only human to do so. Which I was like, great, this was supposed to be a mutant thing only, so how are you going to explain a human getting it? Because when the legacy virus was made, it was made to attack mutant genome only.
It was because gay AIDS doesn't just affect gays, it affects straight people too, Janelle. Hello.
So yeah, that was Chris Claremont's plan. And we got robbed because 3 artists got too big for their britches, and because they were very stylized and different than what people were used to, they let them run with it. And it's I read those stories now by Jim Lee, by Rob Liefeld. I don't know if Will Portacio had as much pull in Uncanny X-Men, but their stories are so fucking vacuous. And yeah, anytime people point that out to Rob Liefeld, he always points out that X-Force #1 sold 1 million copies, so just shut the fuck up. It's like, yeah, but nobody's talking about your stories, Rob. Like, you've changed a lot. You're not as arrogant. You've owned your mistakes, but everybody talks about New Mutants.
Yeah.
I don't hear a lot of people talking about X-Force.
And I could buy I could buy a million copies of X-Force for about $100 right now and wallpaper my bathroom. So, way to go, Robbie. Way to go, Robbie.
Well, you know, a lot of people also saw, was it The Force Arises?
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. Yeah, I can't remember the title. It's so horrible. Yeah, a lot of people saw The Force Awakens. That doesn't mean it was good.
Right.
Yeah. My husband has X-Force #1. Yeah. I've read it. It sucked.
A lot of people have Wildcats #1. A lot of people have Youngblood #1. A lot of people have
I read those
X-Men
too.
1 #1.
They
the
sucked.
one on the screen. The one on the screen. I have owned like 6 copies of it in my time. Does that mean it was good? No. Is it pretty? Sure.
Oh yeah, that's the one thing. This is where artists started taking over from the writers, and it was about the pretty art.
You know, a lot of people went and saw Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
I went and saw Batman and Robin because I wanted to see Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. I was like, okay, I got to see how this pans out, man.
X-Men #1 was that girl that you dump nuts into, but you don't take her to meet your mom.
Yeah.
It was just pretty, and it's a good time, and yeah, there's no soul.
I would agree. The writing was terrible.
Yeah.
Well, Kronk, I remember you and I were bitching about how all of a sudden the Outback X-Men were detectable by electronics again.
Exactly.
And that heat-seeking missiles could follow Iceman. Iceman is cold. You should not be able to detect anything from him.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was just, like I said, it was fan fiction. And I will point out that all the new characters that replaced the old New Mutants for X-Force, the only ones that are still popular are Cable and Domino. Nobody gives a shit about Shatterstar. Nobody gives a shit about Feral. People still like John Proudstar, but he's been around since the late 70s, early 80s when he was part of the Massachusetts Academy, Emma Frost's Hellions. Yeah.
And they had to give him a huge power boost before people liked him. Because at first people are like, oh, the same powers as his brother? That's neat. Because originally he could only lift 2 tons, but eventually when he came back for X-Force, he could like lift 60 or 70, I forget.
Okay, I'm going to argue that too much attention is put on powers, actually. And I would say especially now.
Well, they think that's what makes a cool character, being all-powerful. And I've never, the least powerful characters are my favorites.
Yeah, power isn't what makes them interesting.
No, not at all.
Well, you hear people say, well, Wolverine's OP. I was like, when I got into X-Men, when I got into X-Men, it was when Wolverine was OP, but they dialed that back. Going back and reading the older X-Men books, he may have been, I don't want to say OP, but he wasn't indestructible, and he would have his berserker rages that would put him in danger. But the man always looked tired after a battle. It didn't fucking matter. Like, you know what? He could still feel pain.
The man could get drunk.
Yes.
Yeah, back in the day, yeah, he could.
It took a lot.
He was not, which says he was not immune. That you put enough booze in him, he was going to get plastered.
He also could get tattoos, but his healing factor would erase them after a couple of hours. That was another thing too, is that he could get tattoos, but they would be gone after a little while because his healing factor would be like, oh, look, foreign body. Let's get rid of it.
Yeah, my Logan got stabbed by ninjas and fell down, and they thought he was dead, and he got up and killed them because they thought he was dead. That's my Logan.
My Logan had his mass enhanced so badly by Harry Leland, he fell all the way down into the New York sewers and could barely get up out of the water.
Yeah.
I mean, he did come back in and kick everybody's ass, don't get me wrong, but I also think that was from his instincts, his natural instincts, and his military training. Because he went full-on guerrilla warfare in the Hellfire Club.
Well, and but no, he wasn't indestructible. Right. I mean, all we have to say is he was afraid of the Hulk.
Yes. That's because the Hulk could beat the shit out of him. I think the Hulk was the only one that could truly take him out.
You thought he was scared of the Hulk?
Yeah, the Hulk kicked his ass.
The Hulk, he's never won a battle against the Hulk.
Oh, I've never seen him even look afraid of him, though. I mean, he's always faced him.
Well, he's faced him, but he knows that the Hulk can most likely beat his ass and will beat his ass.
I mean, he doesn't like have knocking knees and go, "Oh my God, it's the Hulk's coming," but it's not like a lot of fights where it's like, bring it, bub.
Draco Nightmare, when did Wolverine beat the Hulk? Because I had always been under the impression, even today, that he never has beaten the Hulk.
I could have sworn he beat the Hulk in the Savage Land.
Which story?
It was during the 90s when the Avengers were gone and the Hulk was split in two. Where it was just Rage Hulk. Because that's when Wolverine brought him back to civilization, and Hulk was actually unconscious. They incorrectly made an assumption that Wolverine was capable of carrying the Hulk on his back, even though Wolverine cannot pick up 1,000 pounds. Yeah, he like stabbed him in the nuts and did some other stuff to him, and Hulk actually passed out, and he took him back to civilization.
Maybe that was because the Hulk was split into two personalities, two different beings.
Possibly, but they never said it, and they were still going off of the madder Hulk gets, the more powerful he gets. So I don't know.
I would just say, you stab anybody in the nuts, they kind of go down for a bit.
I do remember in Avengers versus X-Men, which was so stupid.
That was a bad book.
No, I'm sorry. It wasn't Avengers versus X-Men. It was World War Hulk, where Hulk came back.
Oh, yeah.
And he went and confronted the X-Men, and he beat Wolverine so bad that Wolverine was twitching on the ground, and they were like, Jesus Christ, Wolverine has brain damage. We don't know if he's going to make it.
That, and he bent Colossus's arms.
Yeah. He actually bent his metal arms.
He dented that shit.
I actually will say the entire World War Hulk, the Planet Hulk, all that storyline was pretty fucking good.
Until the very end, yeah. It was.
Oh my God, how you find out how the planet really got destroyed was the hardest eye roll for me. I'm like, are you seriously gonna do that? Oh. Really? But I mean, I like that the Hulk captured every single person who had sent him into outer space. And when he confronts the X-Men, because they're trying to protect Xavier because he was part of the Illuminati, when they made that decision, I believe Xavier was out of commission. And the Hulk just, after he's blown through all the X-Men, goes up to Xavier and said, would you send me to outer space? And I believe Xavier said, yes. And he was like, okay. And then he left.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you didn't actually do it. So I'm going to let you live. But I just wanted to know. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Peace. Now that I've wrecked your house and even beat up your stepbrother. Peace.
Yeah.
dented a couple of your students.
Do you have anything you want to ask me, Hulk? Do you have Grey Poupon?
Yeah, I did not like the end of World War Hulk, but otherwise I like the rest of it.
No, it was good up until you find out about the traitor in his midst. I'm like, that is the most stereotypical plot twist ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
And him and stupid Sentry going toe-to-toe and like, oh, they just kind of knock each other out. Oh, isn't that nice?
Oh my God, please don't get me started on the Sentry. I fucking hate that character.
I've always hated him. I've always hated him.
He's what the character started that out, be a...
Yeah, what started out as a dumbass April Fool's joke got turned into a full-blown character that made no sense. He was stupid. He was the biggest Mary Sue powers-wise. It's like, you people still do not understand how to write Superman.
Yeah.
Just fucking stop.
Hey, you know what would be really cool is if we had a really, really stupid Superman knockoff that was psychotic, because that's never been done before.
Well, remember,
and I think he was also a pedophile.
More powerful they are, the cooler they are, guys. Remember. So if he's the most powerful, he's the coolest ever.
Well, this is when you started to see the shift in at least Marvel Comics, where like the coolest characters, which really weren't, but all of a sudden people started to become really OP.
Yep.
It started there because that's when you saw that's the X-Men, I believe, were in San Francisco at this point, and they started, that whole Cyclops is the coolest X-Men ever. You've lost me. You don't know what the fuck you're writing about. Cyclops is not the coolest X-Men ever. Just saying.
I recall you once said he was trash.
Yeah, Cyclops is trash. I had Scott Summers fans in the chat. I'm sorry. Scott Summers is trash. Yes, part of that was because, what's his name? Shooter called Claremont's bluff after Claremont called Shooter's bluff. And so they just decided to write him as an asshole. But yeah, he's trash. Just trash, trash, trash. Well, thank you, Kat. Yes, Scott Summers is trash.
What I recall was that Shooter said, you're going to do this. And he told, is okay, but, he's going to have to be an asshole.
Yeah, because Shooter was like, no, it has to be Jean Grey coming back. Apparently, it was supposed to be Jean Grey's sister instead joining X Factor. And they're like, no, it has to be Jean Grey.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
no. But that's when we got Sentry. We got Blue Marvel.
Blue Marvel?
Oh, yeah. God. Blue Marvel is an actually fan fiction self-insert from Kevin Gervaux, the guy that created the Underworld movies that he stole from White Wolf.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. He's smarter and more powerful. He's smarter than Reed Richards, and I forget who he's more powerful than. He
was more powerful than the Avengers with Sentry on the team.
Yeah.
He fought them all to a standstill and did not look damaged, whereas Sentry's going, wow, he hits pretty hard.
I love that voice. Yeah, I mean, that's when, that's why I said all the OP characters start popping up, and it was just like, these characters are unnecessary, and it's making it not fun.
So what if there was a whole new superhero universe, introduced, where it was meta, where it was like suddenly someone who's so obsessed with comic books, he's decided that, wait, he'll make the superheroes so that his sex fantasy can be more real.
Isn't that what's going on? It's been going on for like 20 years now. I mean, or even before that, over 20 years, because I mean, Emma Frost was Grant Morrison's ultimate fantasy.
I'm sorry, she's gross.
No. I'm saying, what if someone who's really mentally deficient, like Grant Morrison, who's done too many drugs and is just way too enamored with his own genius, decides, you know what? I'm an intelligent biogeneticist. I'm going to use my talent to turn my wife into my into the supervillain I'm obsessed with.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds very familiar.
What if that was the starting point for a whole new super universe?
Oh my God. It's been fan fiction since this issue that you see right in front. And it's really sad because, I mean, you know what? I will say that I hate comics now. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But I've really been enjoying going back and reading comics that I would have never given the time of day to because I was such an X-Men snob back in the day. Like, I've gone back and I've read stuff that I would have never touched before. Because of me starting to hate X-Men, I started to buy more Judge Dredd and Strontium Dog. And I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. That's where I got, X-Mutants. That's where I read Dawn. That's how I became so hardcore into Grendel. Also, David Mack's Kabuki series. Lots of good stuff. I mean, I went back and I read all my husband's original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics, and those were great.
Yeah, they're
really good. And it's like, I'm okay with comics sucking now because now I can go back and read everything that I blew off in the 90s and the 80s, and even go back and get some of the cool shit from the 70s.
That's what happened when I fell out of love with X-Men. That's when I just started reading everything else and learning about everything else. And no, don't do that.
Neostar,
Avengers, Fantastic Four.
The only Doom Patrol that I read was sadly Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol, and then I decided not to read Doom Patrol anymore.
I heard what it was about, and I just never even picked one up. I was like, cool, all right.
Grant Morrison introduced a street that was a transvestite, Danny the Street.
Yep. Well, I saw the show, unfortunately.
Yeah, Steve and I watched the show just because we were supporting Brendan Fraser after all the horrible shit he went through, so we watched it. Plus, it had Timothy Dalton, and at least Timothy Dalton played Chief like the asshole he is, which was brilliant.
Timothy Dalton is brilliant, though. I mean,
I wish more people would realize he actually played the most accurate James Bond. If you've read any of the short stories and books, James Bond is that serious and that angry.
He's watch
not
him
a happy dude.
I would watch him read the phone book.
I would too.
I heard that Archer was the most accurate Bond.
Bond, after his wife gets killed by Blofeld, they weren't. They had a different weird name. SMERSH was what the organization was called. That was the acronym in the books. He becomes very suicidal. When I say suicidal, he takes the worst jobs in the hopes that he will die by bullet, suicide by terrorist. And he always survives. And he's like, I just want to die. I want to be with Tracy. And he becomes very self-destructive. Actually, in the, was it License to Kill? The one that was about the drug lords that had Benicio del Toro's like one of his first roles, and Robert Davi, and Wayne Newton was in that movie too, which was fucking hysterical. But Felix Leiter gets married to his longtime fiance Della, and in the movie, she takes off her garter and she throws it to James Bond, like, hey, go ahead and start a new life. And James throws it back to her and is like, I'm never getting married again. Tracy was the only one. The death of Tracy Bond fucked James Bond up permanently. And that's one thing I don't like about the movies that came later, is they have completely just disregarded how important Tracy Bond was for James Bond. I mean, I highly recommend everybody watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because that is when he meets and marries Tracy Bond, played by the absolutely gorgeous Diana Rigg.
Hold on, I gotta look that up.
Okay. Yeah, Diana, I believe this was either right before she started on the Avengers or immediately after. Not the Avengers, the comic book. This was a wonderful TV show that came out in Britain. Yeah. Wonderful.
Like spies partner thing, romantic duo almost.
Yeah.
Remington Steele before Remington Steele, except for not Cornball.
Yes.
Well, as Cornball anyway. No, she's cute. Yeah.
Yeah, Diana Rigg was hot back. Actually, she was she still looked very matronly, but very beautiful in Game of Thrones.
She has presence.
I'm
a lot of class.
I'm not a Bond fan, but she's cute.
Yeah, Diana Rigg is beautiful. In fact, after we're done with the show tonight, I'm going to do my traditional night before Halloween watch of The Worst Witch, because she plays Mrs. Hardbroom, the strict instructor at the academy that the Worst Witch attends. It's the one with Fairuza Balk and Tim Curry as the Grand Wizard.
Oh, Tim Curry's another one of those legendary, awesome actors.
Yeah, it's too bad that he had such a bad stroke that he's in a wheelchair now and can barely talk.
Well, that sucks.
I was watching parts of Congo the other night. I was like, you know what? He's the only good part of this.
Yeah, he's great.
He's not even supposed to be in it, but
Tim Curry is so beloved by fans, and I still think he was so underutilized by the industry.
Definitely.
Truly, like every time he's in a movie or a show, I believe he won Emmy for was it the show Criminal Minds where they hunt down serial killers?
Yeah, he was awesome in
He
that.
was scary in that, and he won the Emmy for it.
Did he? Well, he deserved it because he was off the hook scary.
Yeah, it was like one of those times where they were telling people you might not want your kids to be up while you're watching this one.
Yeah. That and the one with this is the last time I'm ever going to say anything nice about Mark Hamill, but he was really good on Criminal Minds too.
I didn't see his.
Oh, he's freaking scary. He really actually was scary.
Well, Mark Hamill continues on the path he is. He's going to kind of get scary again. I mean, the guy's obsessed. There is something not right with that person.
No.
I actually think that the fuck up of the Star Wars sequels broke him mentally.
And then he decided to take it out on Orange Man.
I believe the TDS showed up after The Last Jedi.
But yeah, his TDS is just like, you need to be medicated, sir.
Really?
Yeah, when your own fans are telling you to chill out, man, like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. He's got that Edward Asner like condition. Like, I have to be the most communist or else I'm gonna get kicked out of the club.
Ed Asner was like that?
Oh, hell yeah, he was. He's like, Commie Party's the one to go for. And it's like,
oh, okay. That's really sad because I always paid attention to Ed Asner because he was a big vocal supporter of like Autism Speaks and all that because his I think his oldest son has or had autism and was one of the first people out there to, you know, give money to charities and stuff for the study of autism. I was like, I appreciate that. I didn't know he was screaming commie though. That makes me sad.
Screaming on fire commie.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's too
bad. I mean, I still like his acting. It's just hard for me to, you know, separate, you know, the jackass from.
Well, I liked him in Cobra Kai as Johnny Lawrence's asshole stepdad.
Yeah, I liked him in Gargoyles.
He was great in Gargoyles.
Yeah. I
believe he was also the editor on the Mary Tyler Moore show.
Yeah,
he was Mary's boss.
And 2 episodes of, at least 2 episodes of Hawaii Five-0. He got to play the character he played in the original Hawaii Five-0.
Like the old black and white one.
Yeah, all dusted off and like an 80-year-old man and everything. It was really cool callback.
Oh, gross. Really? Yes. He bragged about driving?
Yes, he did.
Oh, that is disgusting. Probably pressured her into it too, just so he could say he did it.
That, because he didn't want inheritance going to, you know, somebody his daughter wasn't married to.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's a good person.
Well,
wow. So,
everyone. Yeah.
I was just going to say, so he basically didn't want a grandkid that was out of wedlock, so he drove his daughter to go abort it and then brag.
Well, he saw what happened with Kylo Ren, and he didn't want a repeat of that, so, you know.
Shit.
By the end of this night, you'll have killed 3 people. You'll have committed 3 murders.
God, that movie is so good.
That was so good.
That movie left me an emotional hot mess. I was actually kind of terrified by the end.
All right. Well, Janelle said she could only be on for an hour, so we're going to call it an evening.
Actually, since Steve's home, I can stay on for a little bit longer. I didn't think he was going to be home as early as he was. He wasn't supposed to.
Well, thank you, Steve.
So if you guys still want to talk a little bit more, I am still available. But if you guys are winding down, that's fine too.
I'm cool to talk. I just don't have anything left to say about X-Men right now.
Oh no, we that was all the X-Men stuff. I guess I should have done more research because I do not remember Acts of Vengeance, but it sounds like it comes in between like right after Muir Island. Or concurrently with Muir Island?
I think it was about or right after it, right around there. Because I think it was pretty much right before the X-Men #1 and everything. It was when Spider-Man went cosmic for a very short period of time. He got the Captain Universe power. You ever read that?
No, I didn't. And you know what? We don't have that in our collection. My husband might have been like, this is dumb, and wasn't into it. Because he's got more than I do. That's how I was able to find out how amazing X-Men was, is he let me read his entire collection.
Sorry, real quick. Hitman's right. It was Hamill wanted his son's girlfriend to abort their kid. That he didn't want to be born, basically.
That's so gross. That is so gross. To badger someone into having an abortion is disgusting.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But he had to get those lefty brownie points. He's got to get his red star. Gold star's not enough anymore.
Well, hey, on a good note, I'm going to talk about an actor who I absolutely worship because he's a Warhammer nerd. Henry Cavill has signed on to Voltron. So I'm actually thinking this will probably not be woke. He won't do woke shit.
Yeah.
So that also, Amazon is making Voltron. This gave me hope because everybody's been quiet about Warhammer 40K show on Amazon. This shows me that Henry Cavill's still working with Amazon. So I think the Warhammer 40K show is going to be okay. There's also a new animated anthology coming out on Amazon, and the first episode is going to be a direct sequel to the events of Space Marine 2, and it looks fucking dope. So, yeah, I love you, Henry Cavill. I don't want to sleep with you. I just want to hang out with you and drink beer and learn about Warhammer. I'm
sure your husband wouldn't hold it against you if you said you wanted to sleep with Henry Cavill. Hell, he might want to sleep with Henry Cavill.
I don't know him.
He's my nerd crush. He's my nerd crush, but not like for sleeping with him. Like, you are such a fucking Warhammer nerd. I need to hang out with you.
Come on, we're gaming.
Oh, Wolf, Doom Prophecy looks stupid. It's idiotic. It's fan fiction because all of a sudden you have a fucking Harkonnen who is like the first Reverend Mother of the Bene Gesserit. Yeah. It's the new feminist show that's a spinoff from the Dune movies and series and a prequel about the Bene Gesserit and the very first emperor of the known universe. I forget which Carino that was. But yeah, no, I'm not watching Dune Prophecy because the stupid fucking movies, they're pretty, but they suck, especially the fact that I've already ranted about this. The fact that Denise, I can't pronounce his last name. I don't fucking care. Rewrote the entire second half of the book to fit the goddamn woke agenda. Kills me. Yeah. Don't touch Frank Herbert.
Oh, but he's a good director. You know what? Fuck him. You know, obviously he's not that good because he couldn't hold. He had to, he had to change an entire story to fit his politics. So clearly, he can't tell stories. He can only say things that agree with him.
Well, it wasn't just his politics. It was Zendaya and Rebecca Ferguson throwing fits about how Chani and Jessica are portrayed in the books. Gee, I don't know. They're like the two most powerful friggin' females in the first book. Oh my God. The
actress was too stupid to realize this.
And if we found out tomorrow that Zendaya choked to death swallowing her own tongue, I wouldn't shed a tear.
Rebecca Ferguson is the one that said Frank Herbert had antiquated ideas about women, and she understood why because it was the 1960s. It's like, did you not read the fucking book? Apparently, she was only reading that the Bene Gesserit were, they were breeders. I'm like, no, that would be the axolotl tanks. If you want to bitch about anything, bitch about the axolotl tanks. And the Bene Tlilax were never looked at as good guys. They were awful people. They were so awful and had altered themselves so much they weren't even human anymore. Well, but no, I mean, everybody forgets that Jessica was pretty fucking buff and became the Reverend Mother of the entire Fremen nation.
that, there's also this really stupid thing. Well, we have to update it for modern sensibilities because all periods in history clearly are going to have our values, even the future. We can't dare portray a world with different values.
Well, what kills me is everybody loved this movie so much that that's now the status quo. You actually hear people going back and saying, oh yeah, I saw the movie and then I read the book and the movie's obviously better than the book. The book is boring. I'm like, did you eat paint chips as a child? Did you swallow lead? Are you okay?
This?
No, it's all over social media when the movies came out.
Oh, well, you know what? I have a feeling that's going to be forgotten.
No, I hope that movie is forgotten, just like Blade Runner 2049.
Oh my gosh. I forgot it as soon as I saw it, but I was going to say,
you know what?
The only movie I would say was better than the book, and that's because I misunderstood the book at first, was Starship Troopers. Now that I understand it, yeah, I get the movie was kind of popcorn fodder, but that's about it.
Well, the guy that directed it, Verhoeven, completely misunderstood what Heinlein was writing about. And there is nothing wrong with having a sense of patriotism, but he found that Heinlein's patriotism was jingoistic. So he decided to mock Heinlein's work by turning it into Nazi propaganda. And it backfired in his face because everybody in Hollywood and everybody in Europe thought that he was a Nazi supporter, even though he had to flee from the Nazis as a child. So he got what he fucking deserved.
He utterly failed because how do you have a fascist government where it's volunteer-only military?
Yeah.
A fascist regime that discourages military service? How is that fascist? The fact that the bugs attacked first?
No.
No?
Sorry. I'm talking to the dog. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say, yeah, the bugs attacked first.
I thought my microphone was up. Sorry.
The Mormons moved in on the bugs' territory. One, we can't control what some religious colony is going to do. And two, the bugs' response is to drop an asteroid on Brazil. Yeah, this sounds like a race that needs to be exterminated.
Yeah, what did Brazil ever do to them?
Well, I mean, think about it. The whole bug attack on Earth was supposed to be a recreation or an allegory for Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. What happened when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor? The U.S. went into overdrive and said, fuck you, not on my watch, and went and fought. The Japanese. They fought a war on two fronts, which apparently the Russians always forget because the Russians say they're the real MVPs of World War II. It's like, motherfuckers, were you in Japan? Because we were in Japan and we were in Europe. What's that?
This retconning that somehow Russia saved the world. Fuck that shit. That's
that's what's being taught in schools, or at least it was, is that Russia was the ones that were the MVP of World War II. If I remember correctly, they raped their way through Europe, and they said that girls as young as 2 years old and women as old as 80 were being gang raped by their soldiers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what's that, Russia?
But yeah, it's just it's all crap. It really is. It's all crap. And nobody's going to remember this shit. It's just going to come and go.
Well,
like
I will say
everything else Hollywood's done.
People still fondly remember Starship Troopers, even though they know what it's about now, because it's still so fucking out of control fun.
Getting to Starship Troopers, the beauty of it is no matter how hard Verhoeven tried to portray them as negative, the fact is the Federation still comes across as heroic.
Oh,
People are sacrificing. The thing is, Mormons set up a colony. That's all they do. They set up a colony where apparently the bugs had already claimed it. Nobody knew this.
Right.
The bugs wipe out the Mormons and then drop a rock on Brazil. There's no parallel to Pearl Harbor. None. So yeah, the bugs are clearly genocidal. Clearly don't deserve to exist. If that's how if they're going to operate that way, you can't live beside that kind of civilization. And furthermore, it showed all these young men willing to fight and die and sacrifice for their civilization and make it look cool.
they did.
No,
Plus,
it was in the book. It was men and women, but women were in the Navy. A lot of them ended up pilots. Now in the movie, it was co-ed. Anybody could fight.
Yeah.
And I fucking love that movie anyway, because the best part of that movie, this is just my opinion, Michael Ironside makes that fucking movie, man.
It was awesome.
He's one of my favorite actors. I adore that man. Anytime he's in something, I don't care if it's cheesy fucking stupid, I will watch it.
2 things real quick. He should be Eisenhorn if they make an Eisenhorn movie, because that's who I always picture.
Yes.
With the long hair and the curly hair and everything. And then the second thing I was going to say, everybody looks cool when they're wearing RoboCop's armor.
You know what's
Starship
funny?
Troopers.
Yeah, they wrote, and Verhoeven did RoboCop, but you know what's funny? Fox took, they must have bought it or something. They took the armor from Starship Troopers, and that was the armor the Alliance used in Firefly. Go back and watch clips of Firefly. It is so obvious. I'm like, oh shit, that's the Federation's armor from Starship Troopers.
I didn't realize. I gotta go watch that again.
But Verhoeven was so ham-fisted in his movie that he didn't realize that Heinlein's message still got through.
Yeah.
Well, what was so funny too is that the way he filmed the ending with all the children and their armor is all fucked up, the humans were losing. That was what he was trying to convey, is that the humans were fighting a losing war. They were going to, humanity was going to get eradicated. But you know what? That backfired, because think about how many people, young men, lied about their age to sign up to fight in World War II. In fact, my mom's dad did that. He lied about his age and joined the Marines. He turned 18 while he was in boot camp.
So badass.
Yeah. They don't make them like that anymore.
No, they don't. My brother would have been the last one that did that, but he was 18 when he joined.
Yeah.
My brother would have done it.
So, yeah.
But, think about it. Verhoeven's Dutch. He doesn't believe in anything.
No.
He believes in windmills, tulips, and fucking elms.
I will thank Verhoeven for giving us Rutger Hauer, because Rutger Hauer was in his movies when he, first started out. And then when Verhoeven came over, Rutger Hauer also, actually, I think Rutger Hauer came over before him, but he was in a couple of Verhoeven movies. So yeah, thank you for that. I really loved Rutger Hauer. He was also one of my favorites, and I was very devastated when he died.
He was awesome.
Rutger Hauer is amazing. If you haven't seen Nighthawks yet, watching him play a terrorist, damn. A terrorist versus Sylvester Stallone and Billy D. Williams. It's a really good movie.
You know what? I bet what it is Verhoeven's just butthurt, that unlike his people who surrendered to the Nazis, we just kept flinging men at them. We didn't give up.
A lot of the European countries gave up. Some of them didn't have a choice. Like poor Belgium was not equipped for,
no.
Yeah. France, I don't know what the fuck France was thinking. I think that, you know what? They didn't get curb stomped, but they were so drained from World War I that I don't think they were very prepared either.
But no, it's just anytime a European tries to take on the concept of patriotism, especially American patriotism, they can go fuck themselves, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Their lack of their own love of their own land is right now their undoing. They're about ready to hand it over to the Islamists.
Yeah.
Well, look at the movie Civil War. That was written by a British guy who obviously didn't understand American politics. When you say that California, Texas, and Florida are teaming up together against the government, yet the rest of the Midwest and the South are still part of the American nation, and using the excuse that he wanted the right and the left to band together against a corrupt government, it's like, no, it doesn't matter, because Californians and Texans will kill each other before teaming up right now. That's how much they hate each other.
Technically, Texans would just kill Californians.
Well, I've noticed, I'm going to get a little dark here. I've
For
noticed
guns.
some people on social media that I know who are left, who have been anti-gun for decades, are now freaking out and going to gun ranges saying they need to defend themselves just in case, and they're buying guns and they're learning how to shoot. And these are some of the most hardcore, like Antifa BLM supporters.
Well, they're going to have to cover a lot of ground because they're about 50 years behind everyone else.
That
Yeah.
is true.
And California can still outlaw their guns, so then they'll just have to hide them or give them over to the government.
Well, I told Steve that I don't care that we're broke. The fact that these people are learning how to shoot guns before I have is a travesty, and I need to be at a gun range learning like yesterday.
You guys should. It's fun.
I really want to. Like
Just
I said,
run on down and rent a gun.
And you know what's funny is my son even said, we thought he might be scared, and he said that, you know, he's not really fond of guns, but he would rather know how to protect himself just in case. So now my son is down too.
Oh no, they're fun. Like, I mean, you got to be careful, you got to be safe and everything, but
Well, yeah.
so fun. Oh my gosh, nothing to be scared of at all.
No, I've said it several times. My bucket list is to go to Hawaii and shoot axis deer and actually be able to dress my own kill.
Like in a tuxedo? No, I'm just kidding. I know what you mean.
You dork. But yeah, I mean, I want to learn how to shoot a gun, not only for self-defense, but I actually want to go hunting because it's going to make all the vegans cry.
Go to Texas. They got those Asiatic antelopes. Free open season. There's no limit. Take all you want.
Well, I want to hop on a helicopter with Kat and Ishi and shoot the wild boar that are invading Arizona. I think you can use a 50 cal for that.
I would go do it in person. I wouldn't use a helicopter.
Yeah, but then I can live my predator dreams.
Oh, I just go get a mean dog and have it hold still and stab it in the heart myself. Current dog is not mean enough for that.
Our mutual friends Topher and Kirsty sent me pictures of wild boars walking down their street like a few months ago. Like, what the fuck, man?
There's a place over in, I want to say by San Jose, where they do the same damn thing, but it's also open season, and anybody can shoot them anytime, as many as they want, however many they want, you know? I mean, obviously they can't shoot them probably in broad daylight or whatever, but like you can hunt them in broad daylight. There's no bag limit at all. So it's like, on one hand, we're being idiots and letting things overpopulate, but then it's like, take all you want.
Yeah, see, we shouldn't be having a starvation crisis. If people had guns, they could go out and hunt their own food again. It would be great. I think people need to learn how to do that shit again.
Yeah, or people do that here.
No, I know in Arizona, but not in California.
And also, Fish and Game needs to not take away the pig you took without a tag or whatever, unless they're going to go give it to, like, say, an orphanage, which has a problem coming up with enough food, or a food shelter or whatever else, you know?
Oh, don't get me started on any environmental agency.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, we're going to throw it in the sea or burn it or whatever, bury it, but we're going to let people starve. Good job, guys.
The California Coastal Commission actually had Gavin Newsom side with Elon Musk for once, because the California Coastal Commission told SpaceX wanted permission to do more launches, and unfortunately you have to go through the California Coastal Commission, which never should have been made in the first place. Thank you, hippie boomers, for doing that, because it's run by all the big time coastal elites who don't care about anybody else. And SpaceX wanted to do more launches, and the California Coastal Commission came out and said, we don't like your politics, so we are not allowing you to do any more launches. And Gavin Newsom lost his shit and was like, what are you doing? They're going to leave and we're going to lose jobs. And then he said, I side with Elon Musk on this. I was like, you have fucked up if Gavin Newsom has now sided with Elon Musk.
Just real quick, I have a quick correction coming in. The editor is saying they're actually not hippie dipshits, they're hippie dipshit butt fucks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A quick addition there. You had it basically right, though.
Yeah, so this is one thing that kills me. Californians, if any of you are listening, you need to get the ball rolling with your elected officials, because many elected officials don't even like the California Coastal Commission anymore, to put in a proposition to dissolve it, because it was the people voted for it, and that's why it was created, and they were given a shit ton of power. And they actually have power, like, I forget how many miles inland, but they can make decisions for inland places that they don't even understand how inland places work. They need to be voted out. One of the reasons California is so friggin' backwards right now is because of the California Coastal Commission. In my opinion, they were actually enemy number one of the state of California. And yes, Hitman Wanderer, my state is the main source of many of our country's problems. I do agree.
I've hated this place since I came here at 8 years old. That's 41 years ago. It's a lot of hate.
Well, where did you move to? Because in Southern California, it was actually pretty awesome in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
It was.
Yeah, it was paradise.
It might have been nice for you guys, but there were no seasons. You're coming from a kid who came from seasons.
Seasons are overrated. I hate snow. Sorry, I hate snow with a passion.
I love
snow. Snow is evil.
I came from snow, so I had that thick Midwest blood, and I spent at least 15 years sweating trying to adapt here.
Oh, see, I love heat. I can't stand the cold. I can't stand rain. I can't stand snow. It drives me nuts.
Well, then you're in the right place. But
oh yeah, no,
San Diego was hell for me.
Really?
Yeah, way too hot, way too warm, way too dry. And San Diego's not even that dry now that I've lived up here.
San Diego's like perfect year round.
That's paradise. Well, actually not anymore. Our weather has changed. We actually get very cold, rainy, and snowy winters now. It's really bizarre, and it's actually very humid during the summer.
That's because of global warming. You see, the colder winters, it's because it's getting hotter.
Yeah.
The Earth is going to turn into a dust bowl, like they kept saying since we were kids.
Why do you think when I come to visit you guys, or when I've been able to visit you guys, I'm like, oh my God, blessed heat, and I wear a tank top and shorts and try to get sunburned? It's because I've been in dark cold for like 3 fucking months. Oh. Like I need to be in Arizona.
Sacramento is much more like Arizona then.
No, Sacramento has always had gross weather. My grandparents lived in Stockton. So like I went up to central Northern California. It was always like hot and humid and nasty.
Oh, it's not humid at all in Sacramento.
No, is it pretty dry?
It's Arizona dry. And it's only slightly cooler than Arizona. Slightly. Because I've been to Flagstaff, I've been to Phoenix, I've been in the summertime, and I've been there at night. And yeah, it's kind of gross.
Well, Sacramento is a butthole anyway. And in my opinion, Sacramento is the butthole of California. Yeah, which is really weird because I think that San Francisco and LA are the armpit. No, actually, San Francisco is the dirty ball sack covered in smegma of California.
It's the monkeypox-ridden butthole of California.
Exactly.
And Los Angeles is the broccoli and cheese-riddled vagina of California.
I've just always hated LA and San Francisco. I don't know. Sacramento is just boring. That's the only thing wrong with Sacramento. It's too hot and boring.
There was once when I was living in Berkeley where I had this ultra vivid dream. And I've talked about my dreams and how vivid they can be. I remember once I was standing on the shoreline where the in Berkeley, and I'm looking across the city, and there are the few friends I have at the time standing nearby, and we just see this gigantic tidal wave just wash over the whole city. It is knocking all the buildings over like dominoes. Everything's falling apart. The bridges like bow and snap, and cords are flying all over the place, and rocks are tumbling into the sea. And then finally the water recedes, and there's just wasteland and torn up buildings. And As I say, finally it's over.
It sounds like such a good dream.
That was kind of my thought. That was exactly my thought.
If California fell into the ocean at about Folsom, California, onto the ocean, it'd be a much better place.
Not all of California should fall into the ocean. Northern California, they're very 2A, and they're kind of hippie, but not stupid hippie. They're more like, we like to live on our farms and back to the land.
Yeah,
that shouldn't fall into the ocean. Yeah, they're leave me the fuck alone. You know, they want to still. If you ever drive the 5 north and you end up in Northern California, you'll see close to the Oregon border, there's a huge sign that says Jefferson, because the northernmost part of California and the southernmost part of Oregon still want to be their own state named Jefferson. Like that bad. They both want to leave their states and be their own thing. And the older I get, the more I'm like, yeah, just let them have their own state. But neither state will give up territory. So
yeah. Guess it's going to take a civil war.
Oh God, I really hope it doesn't come to that. I do.
Yeah, but you know, if we don't have a civil war, Tim Pool is never going to actually orgasm.
I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that.
He is so pent up with blue balls for that.
Well, his vision didn't come true, and I think it caused him to snap a little bit.
Oh, which one?
The Civil War one. I mean, remember he was making Chicken City. They were going to live off the eggs and the chicken.
Yeah, and the election prior to that, he was buying a van, and he was going to live by the river.
And go fishing.
Well, he did do that for a while, but then he made millions of dollars.
Apparently, he's got like 4 shows now. One of them is going to be just about like pop culture in the nation.
Yeah. That's already going. But I've yet to see them actually cover anything I care about, which should say everything.
Well, it just blows my mind that man bitched about people riling other people up and causing paranoia, and then turned right around and did the whole "if it bleeds, it leads," and was like scaring people.
Well, how he is for me is how Ben Shapiro is for you, Ishi. I can't stand his voice.
I can't stand either one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people who came out of the whole, like, let's speak against the TDS and the wokeness turned out to be just as shitty, in my opinion.
He always was shitty, though.
Well, until they stabbed him in the back, he was always going on, well, I know real journalists, and I've worked in the real media, and, you know, most of them are good people. That was Tim.
Yeah.
And he's a real skateboarder, too.
Yeah.
I actually did watch... I actually did watch some of his early videos when he still had hair. He was like in his early 20s, his skateboarding videos. He actually was good.
Hair equals soul. Now we know what happened to Horace.
Oh, God. Yeah, Horace is a bald man, but so is Perturabo. And look what happened with Perturabo. I think Angron as well was baldy.
And Lorgar. Yep.
And Lorgar.
Lorgar. And talking about.
I'm going to say this. Fuck Erebus. Fuck Erebus. I actually I follow this subreddit. Fuck Erebus. Okay, we're talking about Warhammer 40K. Erebus is this horrible, evil person that triggered and started the whole Horus heresy. He is the reason, because he was the big chaos worshiper in secret. Erebus caused all the problems.
So it's his fault.
Yes, fuck Erebus.
He even tricked his boss into going into chaos and made chaos look cool. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, he tricked his boss, and then his boss decided that they needed to trick everybody else, and they came up with a plot to corrupt Horus, because Horus was not corrupted and was actually a good guy.
He's the best of the best.
Yep, and he got corrupted, and everything fell apart from there, and that's when you got the Horus heresy, and there were the traitor legions and the loyalist legions, and
so bald equals bad.
Yep, in the Warhammer 40K universe,
except for Vulcan. Except for Vulcan.
Yeah, but Vulcan's like a literal walking volcano. All the salamanders, all the people from that planet are literally have black skin and red eyes. They're supposed to be able to run around and be camouflaged on a highly volcanic planet.
All right, guys. I need to call it an evening.
We broke issue with Warhammer.
Oh no, Warhammer did it. Sorry, buddy.
But we will gather next week to talk about something. Thank you for joining us. And
if you guys go to the Nori and Maybe show, there's new videos.
Hell yeah, definitely. Hold on, yeah. Let me get this link.
Bunnies, guinea pigs, dogs. Well, dog, anyway.
Dog.
Hitman Rundoor, you're right. The whole Horus Heresy was just Dorn and Perturabo having a pissing contest on who could make the better defense and offense. Because Perturabo did carry it for Horus's team, and then when he broke in, he's like, okay, I just proved my point, bye, fuck y'all, and abandoned them.
That and Dorn fought off 7 legions by his own legion, and that was pretty much it besides the Navy.
Don't forget the White Scars. Jakati Khan went out there with only a token force, got killed, and the Emperor dragged his soul back from the warp and put it in his body so he could keep fighting.
Oh, no, I just mean the 7 years leading up to the actual war on Earth.
Oh, yeah,
that was all Dorn by almost himself, his legion and the Navy, and that was it.
Yeah, no, I mean, people also forget that Dorn was going insane and actually got tempted, or Khorne tried to tempt him, but he had gone so insane and couldn't really respond that Khorne was like, "No, man, never mind."
He couldn't reach him.
We couldn't reach him because he was so far gone.
Yep.
Okay, everyone. I urge you to start following us on Rumble.
Go to Rumble now.
There are new videos every week. Link in the description, or I've got the link up on the screen right now.
There you go.
And these are edited down. The sound is mixed, so it sounds really good. Visuals are included, but it's kind of like listening to our Pissed Off, Gen X's Pissed Off show, but only the highlights, only the best parts, the best bits, with added fun stuff.
All the grizzle and fat cut off.
Yeah. And then also I do little mini documentaries based on things that have stories that have been told. And I'm going to be giving you guys one hell of a crazy goth girl story, an epic one that's going to have to be broken into 2 parts. It's so long. So all the more reason to subscribe, because you're going to want to see this one.
Go over there, subscribe.
It's all about Crazy Bitch.
Like the video and get your hands on Ishi's Boobs of Steel.
Yes.
Do it now.
Good night, everyone.
Night.